Good afternoon. Welcome to Cool Springs. Today is Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026, and this is our first in-depth session. We did an introduction last week to the book Song of Solomon. Today we're going to look at Song of Solomon chapters 1 and 2. I'm going to have our camera operator turn to the board. I'm going to sit here in part because when I stand next to the board, the microphone that's here, it does pick up my voice, but it's a whole lot softer, whereas if I sit at the table, you can hear much better. And really, we don't have a whole lot there on the board. I want to break down for you how we're going to look at the Song of Solomon. Today, we're going to deal with chapters 1 and 2. Next week, we'll deal with chapters 3 and 4, then 5 and 6, and 7 and 8. So we're looking grand total at about a 5-week study here on the book Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon is a courtship and marriage teaching. And here in chapters 1 and 2, which is all we're going to look at today, Solomon and one of his brides, the Shulamite woman, and that's a reference to a girl from Jerusalem, they're in the courtship phase. And the main points I want you to get out of that, and I think the camera operator is going to zoom in here, is in these first two chapters that these two lovers have first taken notice of each other, and they're attracted to each other, and that they're being complimentary to each other. They're noticing and complimenting each other, and that it's okay that God has designed people to be male and female. We are designed to be attracted to each other, that the idea of sexual relations in the form of marriage is something that God invented and is good. And a lot of times, church teachings on human relationships and sexuality is more of a rule book, thou shalt not touch, thou shalt not do, that somehow it's not holy, that it's sinful and dirty, and it really isn't. It's God's design when sexuality is expressed the way God approves of in the concept of marriage. So here in chapters 1 and 2, Solomon the groom and his bride have begun to notice each other, and they are in the courtship phase, which means that they're not allowed to be sexually active together yet. They're noticing each other, they're complimenting each other. There are times when we're going to see that she's a little bit unsure of herself and her looks and her worthiness, and he is going to do the right thing. He's reassuring and affirming her. Sometimes when people have doubts about their looks, about their desirability, the most loving thing that their partner can do is build them up truthfully and admire what's right about them. We're going to see her character and her beauty, because beauty comes in two forms. There's the kind of beauty that's only skin deep, and then there's the kind of beauty of character and soul. And we're going to see that this young woman has much character that makes her even more beautiful than her physical appearance. And here's a really important one. The last bullet there, she is surrounded by the right kind of friends, because I'm going to have the camera come back towards me now. As I mentioned in the introductory session about Song of Solomon, over the course of his life, Solomon wrote over 3,000 proverbs, not all of which got preserved for us in the book Proverbs, and he did over 1,005 songs. And Song of Solomon is like Solomon's greatest hit. And the scribe Ezra, when the people are coming back from captivity in Babylon and they're being restored to the promised land, Ezra and some of the Levites and priests and the people who were Bible scholars and scribes are trying to figure out, of all the writings that are available to them, which books belong in the scriptures. They know that the books of law, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, given to Moses by God, are part of the Bible. But then what about the other books that have been written since then? Historical books like the books of Joshua and Judges. Poetic books like the book of Psalms and Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and this book, Song of Solomon. The prophetic books, which prophets were really speaking for God, because there were a lot of people who claimed to be prophets, claimed to have a word from the Lord, but it was really, they were saying what they wanted to say. How did they decide which books belonged in the Bible? And Ezra and this group of scribes decided that Song of Solomon, out of all the things that Solomon had written, this one deserved to be in the Bible. But yet it's hardly ever preached from or taught in Bible studies. And part of what we're going to do in this course is look at some of the really, really good principles about what God's design for human sexuality is, how people can enjoy within the context of marriage a healthy and totally, wholly approved by God type of relationship. But we'll also see some of the shortcomings. Solomon the man doesn't live up to his own ideals and to what he knows from Scripture. He started out good for God, but one of the things that Solomon knew, absolutely, because he's supposed to read the words of the law every day, and we looked at that last week in our overview session about Deuteronomy chapter 17, the rules for a king. The kings were not supposed to multiply many horses and chariots for themselves. What did Solomon do? He made himself very, very wealthy, obtained lots of horses, lots of chariots. They weren't supposed to marry multiple wives. Solomon, over the course of his lifetime, married 700 different women that he gave the status of wife to, queens. But he also had 300 concubines, women who didn't have the status of being a wife, but whom he was allowed to use for his sexual pleasure. But what did God's law say? Don't multiply for yourself wives. When Solomon writes Song of Solomon, and he's the author of this work, at that point in time, he had 60 queens already and 80 concubines, and he's marrying the girl that we're reading about here in Song of Solomon, and she's going to give her whole heart to him, but he's not going to give her his whole heart. He's already married other women before her. He will marry many, many more women after her. So Solomon himself, as the man, doesn't obey God's laws about what a proper marriage relationship would be. But yet here in Song of Solomon, he's exulting over this woman's beauty, and we can learn about some of the principles of love and what a proper, healthy regard for sexual relations between one man and one woman, husband and wife, are. In the courtship phase, one of the things they're going to have to do as they're starting to notice each other and they're starting to want to spend time together and they're having desires for each other, like people in our day and time, when you notice somebody for the first time and you're wanting to date each other and you're trying to figure out how far you should and should not go in getting to know this person and being intimate and expressing love to them. We're going to see that when Solomon writes Song of Solomon here, he's the groom. His bride, this bride at least, is a girl from Jerusalem. She's a Jewish girl. Solomon has married many women from the nations surrounding him, taking these pagan wives to be his own and allowing them to continue worshiping their pagan gods instead of turning them to worship the one true God. And Solomon is going to have a divided heart. But this girl isn't. She's a local girl from Jerusalem, thus Shulam, which was a shortened version of the word Jerusalem. She's a peasant girl. She's not from royalty, like he marries Pharaoh's daughter and he marries the daughters of many kings of the nations surrounding him. So she's wondering, how would he notice somebody like me? But as we see here in chapters 1 and 2, they're going to compliment each other, making reference to the geography of the land, making reference to animals, making reference to fragrances and plants. That's all very poetic type of language, but they're expressing good attributes, the qualities of the people, complementary qualities. And you'll see a couple of times here where the bride has friends. It may say friends in your Bible. It may say the chorus. If you don't have people like this in your life, you need to get some friends like this. These people are going to be there, and Solomon's writing this musical. So even when it's the bride speaking, it's Solomon recording down what his bride thought or said, as though she were speaking herself. And she has friends who are correctly warning her while they're in this courtship phase in chapters 1 and 2 that you need to be careful to respect the boundaries that God has placed on human sexuality. Don't go too far. That yes, you can dream about and long for and hope that Solomon will notice you and that he will select you to be his bride. But you have to wait until the wedding and the honeymoon to act on those urges and those feelings and those desires. When we're talking to people in our day and time about dating and being engaged, we need to talk to them in the perspective of God's designed you to be a sexual being. Yes, it's right for you to be attracted to this person, but until you are actually married, you must preserve God's boundary, and then you'll enjoy married life a whole lot more. You won't be coming into the marriage bed with the memories and the baggage and the shame and all that goes with it of past relationships, that you'll be able to focus on committing to each other. So chapters 1 and 2 here is just the courtship phase. The introduction, verse 1, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. This is his biggest hit. Verses 2 through 4 there, it's the bride speaking. May he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine. Your oils have a pleasing fragrance. Your name is like purified oil. Therefore the maidens love you. Draw me after you, and let us run together. The king has brought me into his chambers. She's attracted to Solomon, and she hopes he's going to notice her. Then you've got the chorus there. The godly friends who are there to uphold her, support her, encourage her when she's discouraged, but who are also there to remind her, watch yourself, girl. Don't go too far. The chorus says, we will rejoice with you and be glad. We will extol your love more than wine. Rightly do they love you. In other words, yes, if this is the one for you, we'll all be happy. We'll celebrate with you. My husband and I dated for quite a long time. We met in college, and we knew that we both needed to finish college. Then we both needed to finish seminary before we took the step of getting married. Because we recognized, look, two adults who have to work, we have to put ourselves through not only college, but through the graduate school, the seminary that follows, before we add on the responsibilities of having a home and dealing with marital relations. So we dated for a long time. And when he had finally finished school and had served as pastor of a church for over a year, and we decided, okay, now it's time for us to officially get engaged and set the wedding date. And we made that announcement to my family that, yes, we are officially engaged. The ring is on the finger. We're setting a date. I can still remember seeing my mama's face and the joy that she had, because she'd been waiting for a long time to be able to put on the wedding, and she was wondering, when are they ever going to get around to it? And it was right during that period, as soon as we let her know that we were engaged, Mama couldn't wait to reach behind her and pick up the telephone and call her mama and her sisters and start sharing the word with all of her family and friends that Nancy and Mark are officially engaged and they're going to be getting married in August. During that period of preparation, several different people and groups threw showers, parties to celebrate our engagement and to help the young couple as we're beginning to set up married life. You need people who'll be there, who will support you, who will cheer you on, who will encourage you. And that's what this chorus group of friends are. They're letting this Shulamite girl know, if he's the one for you, when y'all get married, we'll be more than happy to celebrate with you, to share in your joy. That it's right for people to love you, that, girl, you're worth loving. That verse really right there, when they're saying, we'll extol your love more than wine, rightly do they love you. Basically, they're saying, you're valuable. You deserve to be loved, and to be loved in the right kind of way, in a way that honors God. Then verse 5 through 7, the bride is talking again. I am black but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not stare at me because I'm swarthy, for the sun has burned me. My mother's sons, in other words, her brothers, my mother's sons were angry with me. They made me caretaker of the vineyards, but I have not taken care of my own vineyard. Tell me, O you whom my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock? Where do you make it lie down at noon? For why should I be like one who veils herself besides the flocks of your companions? When it says there that she's dark but lovely, that she's black but lovely, that's not a reference to her ethnicity. People who were wealthy would not actually work in the fields and vineyards themselves. They would pay other people to do it. So one of the signs that you had wealth and culture and class was to have very light skin. I'll take my watch off for a second here. Obviously, I've been outside in the sun. You can see the tan line around where my watch is. She tells us that the sun has burned her. And she tells us why. Her brothers. They got angry with her. They're in charge. Apparently her father is no longer in the picture, so her brothers would have been responsible for overseeing her. So rather than sheltering her and letting her be delicate and have very light skin, she's got to go out in the vineyards and work. They're making her work for a living. But she's a hard worker. And work and being able to do it well is a good character trait, something to be admired. So she's apologizing for the fact that, okay, I don't have the milky skin of some of the wealthier girls in town. She's feeling a little bit insecure. Why would Solomon, the king, notice me when I'm clearly somebody who has to work for a living? I'm not the wealthy person. I have to go out and earn a living. But she's longing to be with him. Tell me, he whom my soul loves, where do you pasture your flock? She wants to go out and be with him. The chorus is going to respond to that again. And they're going to basically say, watch yourself, girl. You don't want to be out alone and possibly put yourself in a compromising situation. It's right for you to yearn for him. It's right for you to be where he's at in the hopes that he'll notice you more. And particularly if you're wanting to talk to teenagers. You may remember being a teenager yourself, and if you're parenting a teenager, how when they decide that they're attracted to somebody, they will go to extraordinary lengths to try to get that person to notice them. Whether they get that person to notice them by doing something galactically stupid or not, they want to be noticed. They want to hang out where that person's going to be. They want to be wherever that person's going to be. That's what this girl, this bride, is longing for. I want to be near where Solomon is at. I want to be close to him. I want him to notice me. And the chorus of friends here is going to say, if you yourself don't know, most beautiful among women, they're reminding her, don't worry about the fact that you're suntanned, that it's evidence of the fact that you're working. Girl, you're beautiful anyway. Most beautiful of women, go forth on the trail of the flock and pasture your young goats by the tents of the shepherds. You can go and be where he's at, but make sure you stay properly clothed. Make sure you maintain your distance. Make sure that you uphold the standards of righteousness. Then in verses 9 through 11, it's the groom speaking again. To you, my darling, to me, my darling, you are like my mare among the chariots of Pharaoh. Let's explain that one. In our day and time, if somebody is describing a woman and they say she looks like a mare, like a horse, we don't exactly think of that as complimentary language. We're thinking of that like ugly. But all the metaphors that they're going to use here, where they're talking about fragrances and they're talking about vineyards and grapes and horses and gazelles and all these doves, all these animals and things of nature. The mare in their culture was a symbol not only of beauty, but of strength and of being useful. She's a hard-working girl. She's worked out in the vineyards. She's got strength of character. She may have a delicate body as far as not, being all muscular and whatnot, but she has the beauty that Solomon is admiring, and he's comparing her to this mare because, remember, he's collected a lot of horses, so he knows the good horses from the mules out there, and he's actually complimenting you, saying, yes, I've noticed you. You've got strength. You've got beauty. He's complimenting her in this phrase. You are like my mare. And notice he said my mare, not like a mare. You're like my mare among the chariots of Pharaoh. The horses that would have drawn Pharaoh's chariots would have been the best horses in all of Egypt. Solomon just paid this girl, this peasant girl, a serious compliment. You're mine. My mare. Among all the girls that are out there, I see a strength and a beauty in you, and he's admiring it. Your cheeks are lovely with ornaments, your neck with strings of beads. We will make for you ornaments of gold with beads of silver. She may be a peasant working girl, but Solomon has the riches of the kingdom at his disposal. And because he's attracted to her and he's noticed her and he's going to choose her to be his bride, he's going to see to it that she gets the finest of the fine things, that she'll get the best jewelry, she'll get the best clothing. He's admiring her for her qualities. Verses 12 through 14, the bride speaking again. While the king was at his table, my perfume gave forth its fragrance. My beloved to me is a pouch of myrrh, which lies all night between my breast. My beloved to me is like a cluster of henna blossoms in the vineyards of En-Gedi. En-Gedi is just on the northwest side of the Dead Sea. Streams of water pour down from the ridgeline in Jerusalem down towards the Dead Sea, and these springs of fresh water provide basically an oasis in the desert. There's lots of animal and plant life at En-Gedi. David hid out from Saul for quite a while at En-Gedi because he had access to food, the game that would come there attracted by the waters, and water, and there were caves for him to hide in. when the bride is talking here and she makes reference to the fragrances. She wants to be near his presence and she wants to smell good. She wants to look good, she wants to smell good. Deodorant, perfumes, deodorant hasn't been invented yet. And so one of the ways in this arid environment, Israel is on the edge of the desert. They would take pouches of spices like myrrh and they would hang them around their necks and they would sleep with them there. Why? Because they don't have an abundance of water and soap. And like I said, deodorant is quite a ways from being invented. And perfume will only disguise just so much. She wants to be clean and attractive and smelling good for her lover. And so she's described that, what she's doing, and that she's putting on this pouch of myrrh and using this henna. It's a beauty treatment for her. And the groom responds to her, "How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful you are. Your eyes are like doves." Verse 15, he's letting her know, you're beautiful. You're attractive. Verse 16, she responds back to him, "How handsome you are, my beloved, and so pleasant. Indeed, our couch is luxuriant." She's got to be careful on the couch. Some of the people that I grew up with and went to church with will remember very well rule number 3 in our youth group. We went on a lot of youth summer camps and mission trips and other long distance choir tours and that sort of thing when we were in youth at our church. And the youth minister we had at the time had a set of rules that we all had to agree to. And rule number 3 was, if you're on the bus and we're going to be on this long trip and you're sitting boy and girl together, your head has to be visible at all times, and you need to keep your hands in a proper place, because you might be on a very, very long trip and some people might be sleeping on the bus. But if you were sitting in mixed company, you had to be seated upright so that the chaperones in the front could look back and see that you're not getting too friendly with the hands and that you're not giving each other hickeys and making out and doing things on the bus that you shouldn't be doing. Here, she's talking about our couch is luxurious. She can be around him, but they have to be careful how far they go physically until it is time for the wedding night and the honeymoon begins. And the groom responds back to her, "The beams of our houses are cedars, or rather cypresses." He's saying, yes, I agree. We were looking forward to the day when we're going to dwell together, but we're going to wait until the time is right for our house. Chapter 2 of Song of Solomon. The chapter title that I gave for myself, I remember I'll show you my precept notes here, that it gives us just the text of Scripture for us to make our notes and a place for us to say what we think this chapter is about. My title for this chapter is verse 4. His banner over me is love. A lot of times, on the very few occasions when pastors or Bible scholars or Bible teachers are trying to deal with Song of Solomon, a lot of times they just frankly ignore it like it's not even in the Bible. But when they do, they don't really want to take it a lot of times in its plain sense that God has designed male and female, and that God's design is good, and that God's intention is for one man and one woman to unite together, and that the marriage bed is holy, and that sexual love expressed between husband and wife is pure and holy and clean and nothing to be ashamed of. And a lot of times, because scholars they don't want to go there and deal with that, they'll try to make it all allegorical and symbolic of the love between Christ and his church. And in that regard, his banner over me is love. That is God's overarching reason for reaching out to mankind, his creation. God so loved the world that he came down and took on flesh and paid our sin penalty for us. Yes, his banner over us is love. But the practical side is also absolutely 100% true, that in a proper relationship where both the man and the woman have waited until they have become one flesh, joined together in holy matrimony. Matrimony is holy. Sexual expression in marriage is holy, it is right, and it is good. That the banner over that relationship is also love. The bride is going to realize that Solomon's desire for her is right, and that he's going to take care of her because he wants to love her properly. Verse 1, the bride speaking here, I am the rose of Sharon, the lily of the valleys. Verse 2, the groom responds back to her. Like a lily among the thorns, so is my darling among the maidens. What he's saying there is, she's uniquely beautiful. She's going to have moments, you'll see it here as we go through Song of Solomon, where she's a little bit timid and not sure of how could somebody like this love somebody like me. And every time she has these moments of insecurity and doubt, Solomon's going to reaffirm her and reassure her of his love with his words. And her friends are going to keep encouraging her too and saying, no, you are beautiful. Well, he's just done one here. When he says, like a lily among the thorns, he's saying, compared to you, my darling, my bride, all these other women, they're not like other beautiful flowers in the garden. They're like thorns. That she's uniquely beautiful. So he's reassuring her when she's not sure of whether or not she's worthy of being loved or worthy of being loved by somebody of his caliber. Like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the young men. In his shade I took great delight and sat down. Verses 3 and following, the bride is speaking here again. I took great delight and sat down, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. She's yearning for love from him. She's not looking around to play the field and be considering other men as potential lovers. She's focused like a laser beam on, this is the one true, my beloved. He has brought me to his banquet hall, and his banner over me is love. Sustain me with raisin cakes, refresh me with apples, because I am lovesick. Let his left hand be under my head, and his right hand embrace me. She's yearning for that physical intimacy, the touch that a husband and wife would be able to share, intimate touches, because within the context of marriage, man and woman become truly one flesh. And so she's yearning for that. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem. She's now talking to her friends there. O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the hinds of the field, that you do not arouse or awaken my love until she pleases. Listen, my beloved, behold, he's coming, climbing on the mountains, leaping on the hills. They're being mutually complementary to each other. They're speaking in terms of the animals and the positive qualities that these animals would have. Leaping on the mountains. That's when you see animals who are leaping about, you recognize that as joyful. We've got a new puppy in our house. In fact, he'll be 5 months old a little bit later on this week. We'll toss him a toy, and he'll go bouncing through the house, grabbing the toy, and then he'll come and bring it back so that we can take it from him and toss it again. He knows it's a game. He knows the toy is his. He's having fun because as humans are interacting with him. We're playing with him, and it makes us smile, and it makes us happy to watch this puppy enjoying life and learning how to engage with his humans. The bride and groom are celebrating this growing attraction, this growing love, and because she's got good friends that are surrounding her, they're encouraging her too. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Behold, he is standing behind our wall. He's looking through the windows. He's peering through the lattices. My beloved responded and said to me, arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come along. For behold, the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. The flowers have already appeared in the land. The time has arrived for pruning the vines. In other words, it's springtime. Very often we associate spring with the new flowers and the new buds and the growth. A lot of times people get romantically involved in the springtime because it's such a beautiful, joyous time of year. The flowers have already appeared on the land. The voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. The fig tree has ripened its figs, and the vines in blossom have given forth their fragrance. Arise, my darling, my beautiful one, and come along. He's inviting her to be with him. The groom is being seen here as somebody who is strong, very athletic, very agile. The bride is being seen as beautiful, delicate, and fragrant. You see how they're complimenting each other? And the compliments are real. It's not flattery. They're noticing real qualities, and they're admiring them, and they're making sure they're sharing this good news with each other. You want to have a marriage relationship that lasts over the test of time? Admire your partner, your spouse. Let them know what it is you appreciate about them. And it needs to be a two-way street. Some people may be good at expressing love verbally. Others may be expressing love through the things that they do, the actions that they take, the things that they just quietly take care of. But the bride and the groom, the husband and the wife, need to communicate with each other. And they need to know their spouse well enough to know what love language works for them. That this person that I love will understand when I say this or when I do this, that's my way of showing love to them. They need to be consistent about sharing what they admire and respect about each other, to uphold each other's character, to uphold each other's sense of self-worth. And that's what you see the bride and the groom doing here while they're still in this courtship phase. Next week, when we look at chapters 3 and 4, Solomon's going to send his best chariot, and he's going to come in the bridal procession, claim the girl as his bride, and carry her back to his house, to his father's house, and they will consummate the marriage. There will be the wedding and the honeymoon next week. Right now, they're still in the dating courtship phase, and they're learning to communicate with each other, to express what it is that they admire and respect and appreciate about each other. Verses 14 and 15, the groom is talking again. All the way down to verse 13, this has been the bride extolling the virtues of her groom. Now it's the groom talking. O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret place of the steep pathway, let me see your form, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet and your form is lovely. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that are ruining the vineyards while our vineyards are in bloom. He's seeing her, and he's wanting more. They'll wait till the wedding night, but he's letting her know, I'm very attracted to you. I can't wait for the wedding when you're actually mine. When a man and a woman have kept themselves pure, and they approach that wedding night, that honeymoon, that first time being together, they might be a little bit nervous. But if they've been reassuring each other all along about how much they love and respect about each other, and when now they're finally alone together because it is right and proper for them to come together as husband and wife, even if they're a little bit nervous, they can relax because they know they waited, they did it the right way. In our day and time, unfortunately, a lot of people have already jumped the gun, but they can decide, okay, I can't unring that bell. I've made the mistake and violated God's rules about sexual purity, but I don't have to be a repeat offender. I can stop, and from this day forward, I can determine in my heart that I'm going to wait for God's timing and wait for the right relationship. And even though they will have some regrets, some baggage that they'll carry in, they can know that, okay, God has forgiven my past. He is helping me in the present to be pure and live a godly life, and He will help me in the future to continue to be faithful and loyal and devoted to the one person that He's provided for me to be my mate. They can have that kind of joyous relationship. This will be this girl's one and only wedding. Solomon, like we said, has already married many other women. So he's not living up to godly standards. That's one of the lessons we need to take away from this, is that he knows what is right. He's going to marry this girl, and she's going to give him her whole heart. But he's already married many other women, and he's going to marry even more after her. He's going to give her part of his heart, not the whole thing. And that's the tragic thing for Solomon, is that he clearly has access to a young woman who is wholly devoted to him. And instead of being satisfied with that one relationship, he's going to violate what he knows to be God's rule about man and woman relationships, and he's going to go out and do other things. It'll help us understand the course that we're about to study next in Ecclesiastes, where Solomon talks about vanity, vanity, life is vanity, because he's tried everything under the sun instead of recognizing God loves you, God has provided a mate for you, and you need to be satisfied with what God has provided for you instead of looking for love in all these other places. Verse 16 and 17, the bride's talking again. Solomon's just admired some of her qualities, and now she says, my beloved is mine and I am his. Dodi la dodi. This is my late husband's wedding ring, and we don't have an inscription inside of our wedding rings, but there is a custom among Jewish people. First of all, in a Jewish wedding, the groom will give the bride a ring that she will wear on her right index finger, because he is the head of the family and he's giving her authority to manage the home on his behalf. So a lot of times in Jewish weddings, they'll present the bride a ring, and it'll be inscribed on the inside with this verse: my beloved is mine and I am his, recognizing that they have chosen each other in this relationship. This is the bride giving her whole heart to her groom. My beloved is mine. She is embracing him. She's agreed. I'll take off my wedding ring now and pull out the engagement ring. Mark gave me the engagement ring that I wore, and then on the wedding day I got the wedding ring that I wear in between the time that we first announced our engagement up until the time we went to the wedding. If either one of us had decided we wanted to call off the relationship for whatever reason, it would be a simple case of give the ring back and you don't need any lawyers involved. You just agree to break up. But once we went to the church and said the vows and committed our lives to each other, now we are legally married. All that time that we had dated and were engaged, we had to practice restraint with each other. But once we've done the wedding, we've made the public commitment, we go off on the honeymoon, and now we can come together and fully realize we belong to each other, we are one, and that it's right and good and proper. This bride is recognizing the fact that she's giving her whole heart to Solomon. My beloved is mine, and I'm his. He pastures his flock among the lilies. Until the cool of the day when the shadows flee away. Turn, my beloved, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the mountains of Bether. She's recognizing his strength, and she's yearning for the moment when they get married. And we'll see that next week when we're looking at chapters 3 and 4, where we'll see, okay, that she's prepared herself, she's waited, the time has come, he has prepared a place for her to come and dwell, and he will send his chariot, and he will come himself to claim his bride and carry her back to the chambers where they will become one flesh, husband and wife, united in a way that God approves of. Honeymoons, wedding nights are wonderful things when you know that you are with your beloved, and you know that your beloved loves you as much as you love your beloved, and you know that it's right and proper in God's eyes. And so when we're teaching our young people about dating and marriage and proper relationships, we don't need to shy away from telling them the truth of God's beautiful design, that it's all right for you to recognize that you're male and female, that you're attracted to your lover, but that you have to do it within God's way. Thanks for watching.